Hello and welcome to Side Quest. This is our weekly video game show here at GeekVerse. I'm your host, the Adam Fall Heartcaster, Dylan Musk, and I have with me the Clown Prince of Beans, Travis Snell. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk about this one. This should be a spicy, fun episode. Which has not always been the case when we've had the Xbox ones in the past. So this is, I think there's lots to talk about today. So I can't wait.
Mm-hmm. And then we have the X of boxes, Mr. Xbox himself, Taylor Field.
Yeah.
How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. There's a lot of surprises to talk about with this. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're here for part 2 of 3 of our kind of Summer Game Fest weekend coverage. We just covered the Summer Game Fest showcase, and now we're here to talk about the Xbox showcase. And yeah, we have a lot to do, so we're just going to get right into it once again. I'm going to throw Mr. Xbox. Taylor, what did you think of this year's Xbox showcase?
I enjoyed it. I had a good time. Just again because I'm biased because there's a lot of things that I was excited to see, and I mean, heck, that's what you want when you're a supporter of a company like Microsoft and Xbox. You want to see games that you're able to be diving into, and again, there are some surprises, and I mean, it's funny because things were updating because I was playing Call of Duty at the time when obviously Black Ops was unveiled or whatever, and it was just like, holy fuck, my game was like freezing, twitching out because they were like, oh, pre-order now, oh, we got the cross gen, all these editions. They just blasted the Call of Duty. I was like, holy fuck,
God
like
damn.
my game's overloading right now, 300 gigs already. But no, I'm really excited to talk more about this because, as I said, there's a lot of games in here I'm really eager to get into. So
Very nice. Number. Give me a number, 1 to 5. Or 0 to
oh,
5,
you know,
if you
I'm
want.
gonna be extremely biased and go 4 to 5.
That's lower than
That's-
I thought, actually.
That's not extremely biased. I'd say that's
Yeah.
like moderately biased.
He didn't even come in with a thought. He said, like, oh, I had a good time with it. So I thought for
Yeah.
sure. I want to, just because this might set me up, because Dylan, I'm going to assume you're going to probably throw it at me next. Maybe I'm wrong. But
I could throw to you next.
He's gonna throw
What?
to Kirkland.
Kirk, what do you think? No rating there, hey. What were your surprises today? I just wanted to know.
I'd say State of Decay. I mean, I wanted it, but I was not expecting it.
I'll give you that one. Yeah.
Gears of War. I wanted. I would say I was surprised that it was a prequel. I thought we would be getting.
But were you surprised it
6.
was there though? Because I feel like that everybody felt Gears something's happening. You know, the scuttlebutt
Yeah,
was around.
I mean scuttlebutt, but I mean I'd still be a little bit surprised. Marginally. But yeah, no, I guess it was time. World of Warcraft, that was a surprise. Although again, it was just it's Xbox, it's Microsoft now, so there's that.
Yeah.
What else do we have?
Okay.
I guess Dragon Age. Dragon Age, that's not too much of a surprise.
Okay, it's not a bad thing. So that's where I am, where I know what's gonna happen. I'm the Sony pony, you know, Mister PlayStation. So I know people go, oh, you're biased, the opposite of Taylor. I still think this was a great showcase. I think this is easily the best showcase Xbox has had since we've been doing this since 2016 of the E3s, and I think they put on a great Summer Games Fest when Jeff Keighley decided to drop the ball, because I think this was good. I needed a couple more bigger surprises. I needed a couple more from the bigger things, like from Fable. I saw people very excited, and I get it, but at the same time I was still like, I feel like we still need a more on this. And that's where I felt like on a few other times we were still, which like we just talked about last episode, it's tough with release dates because you don't want to put them. But when we are getting like 2024 for a few games, but no window, it's kind of like, well, when's this happening? Like indie, it's like, when is this happening? So I guess that's where I am, where I think the pacing was really good. I also, this is where I'll fully say as well, bias, like there's still things in here from just Xbox the past couple months where it's just like, I just haven't been digging the vision. If people don't know, I have an Xbox. I'll be playing many of these games. I'll play many of them on Games Pass because it is the best deal for, gaming wise and everything like that. But, I think overall it was a great show. I think it's just that I'm looking at Xbox differently, where it just, I feel like they are just like one of like the biggest devs now. Not particularly, but just like this to me still felt like more a Summer Games Fest than Xbox. Maybe I need a little bit more of that, and I guess it's just in a place they are where we've talked about so many casts where I'm trying to change my perspective, where they're gonna be all over it, and maybe it's still really not about the consoles, but I don't know because they're always talking about like this is gonna push us in the next thing. And it's just like I guess I'm just at a crossroads with Xbox overall. So I think as a show by itself, I would give this like a 4.5 because I didn't have that one stand up thing. Because I will give Taylor State of Decay because I saw people be like, oh, I hope that was happening. But I still don't think there was one surprise that was like that stand up. Holy crap, they did this. Like even Gears, we knew that was happening. Some other things. So I always say a 5. I need like that really good, that wow moment. So I can't give it fully that. But I think the pacing of it was really good. I think that it was great for Phil just to be there at the beginning and kind of bugger off, and then same thing with the other lady because I don't know. Like I said, some of his comments this weekend too. I still go, you're just so full of shit, man. Like I just can't get on board with some of this stuff. But the show overall, really good, and I'm excited to talk about some things in here. So I think this is the best thing Xbox has had since we've been doing it. But they've also like, I don't know. Look at all the stuff they've bought since we've done this in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they get to have a good. Because here's my thing. I didn't watch much of the Call of Duty thing, but when Phil goes on for about 10 minutes of like, for the first time in 11 years, Call of Duty's back on the Xbox showcase. It's the most exciting time. It's like, yeah, because you bought them. It's not like they've had it, like they came to a partnership. It's not because like Call of Duty's like, you're the best in gaming. It's like you kind of like cheated to get this achievement of like, yeah, Call of Duty's back on the stage here to show you. It's like, well, yeah, because they have
Bruce
to.
Wayne tactic.
It's
I
like
own this hotel.
You're their boss now. They have to be there. They never like. So it's just like a weird dichotomy of like, it's like a victory lap, but it's like a paid for victory lap. That's fine. Do whatever you want, billionaires. But it's just that's where it is. Where it's like, it's still not a genuine thing. So that's where I'm mixed on some things with Xbox overall. But it was a fun show to watch, and I just wanted a few more gameplay from some things and one or two more bigger surprises, I'd say.
Yeah, no, I had a very similar thought to you, which is that, man, with the Activision Blizzard thing officially going through now and they have full access to that stuff with Bethesda a few years ago, other acquisitions they've made along the way, and the fact that they're of course still going to do third-party deals, there's really no excuse for Xbox nowadays to not have an absolutely fucking killer showcase every single year. And, you know, when they do their January show, which is like the developer direct where they focus on like 3 to 5 games. Of course, that's going to be different. It's like, are you individually into the 3 to 5 games that they picked? If the answer is no, then it's like, it's going to be a medium show, but at least they tell you exactly what to expect and you know what you're going to get there. But when it comes to this summer showcase, if they're ever less than a 4 for the next ever, unless something drastic changes, then that would be like a huge disappointment for me, just because you have so much to show. You have so much in that back catalog. You have so many surprises you could do. Mix them with like the classic stuff, like a new Halo or like a new console reveal or all this other kind of things. Like they just have so much to play with at this point that, yeah, there's no excuse not to have a great show. But of course, it's still great when they can stick the landing here. And I think this was a good showcase in terms of pacing. They of course had their 3 big execs up on stage, plus the Call of Duty people. And I'm sick of those people too because they are fucking liars, and I hate everything that they've done recently. And they've shut down Ark and Austin. I'm still mad about that, like tremendously mad about it. And so anything they say, I honestly just like, I was skipping those sequences when they're talking because I don't even want to hear this BS mumbo jumbo that you guys have to say, because it's just meaningless speak at this point, when I feel like they were so consistent on like wording and messaging for the last few years. But everything's changed recently, obviously with these layoffs, and how they talk about, oh, we care so much about our teams. We're like, well, clearly you don't. The PlayStation shift and putting games everywhere, like everything has changed recently. I don't even think they know what the fuck they're going to do the next month, so why am I going to believe what they're telling me on the stage? So that's kind of where I'm at with them. But, I can remove that for the sake of watching the showcase here. And so because of that, I'm with you, Travis. I'm at a 4.5. I thought could be a bit lower, like maybe a 4.25. I mean, who cares? It's just a random number anyway, but that's kind of where I'm at. I think for me, the points that it quote-unquote lost were, I was 100% expecting and wanting Activision Blizzard got acquired. Since then, 1 game has been added to Game Pass, and that's Diablo 4. Where is all the back catalog stuff? Where are the older Call of Duties? Where are these potentially hundreds or tens of games that are on the Xbox store right now? I don't see why you can't, like, unless there's something I don't understand about contracts and lawyers and all this mumbo jumbo. Like, why can't you just dump that stuff on Game Pass right now and give me, like, you just laid off a bunch of studios, and what was it for? It's because Activision Blizzard was so expensive. Where am I as like the Game Pass subscriber? Where am I getting the benefit of that? So far, it's Diablo 4, which is a game that I already bought, so I haven't got anything out of that yet. And of course, Call of Duty's coming, but it's like, I was really expecting something here. Like that acquisition happened so long ago now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they couldn't have done something. I think that would have been huge of just like, hey, out today, here are 20 like older
Yeah.
back catalog games, but still here's 20
That's
old
your
games that
shadow
we're gonna-
drop
Yeah,
moment.
we're going to bring a
Yeah.
bunch more. Makes no sense to me why they couldn't have done that. If they did, I think I would promote it to a 5 out of 5. Of course, there can always be like something bigger or more exciting. You know, put Elder Scrolls 6 on my screen, you're going to get a free 5 out of 5. But I think they kind of crushed it in every other category. Of like, here are some new surprising games that are coming to Game Pass. Here are updates on games we've had before. Here's a lot of gameplay for the most part. There's not a lot of fluff except for the Call of Duty stuff, but you know that's kind of like I like that they framed it as, you know, after the showcase is the Call of Duty showcase, and so you can expect you know a bigger deep dive on that stuff, and I can kind of skim through that without feeling guilty because I know what to expect. So yeah, they did a great job here. 4.5 is my number on it. Let's get into it. So they closed and ended the show with Call of Duty, and so I think we might as well just talk about it now. Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Taylor was about to leave the room. Call of Duty Black Ops 6.
He got
is
assassinated
coming
like
out-
some of the characters in this new Call of Duty game.
It's coming out October 25th, and it is officially on Game Pass day one. Now, I saw some clarification about this that, you know, there are 3 tiers of Game Pass right now. There's Game Pass Core, which is like the really low-level basic one that just gives you like 20 or something games, and they kind of rotate that out. It's not on that catalog,
Yeah.
and it's on the standard one, like standard console Game Pass, but only the campaign. And then if you get Game Pass Ultimate, that is when you have access to multiplayer, and I think Zombies is included in that. Now,
Okay.
Taylor, you
That's
probably
smart.
know this best. Like, you still need Ultimate if you want Xbox Live, right? Like to play games online.
As far as I know, yes.
I think
'cause they
they've rolled
merged
it in,
those,
right? Yeah, so to me, that's where it makes sense. Of like, yeah, I guess you wouldn't put Call of Duty Game Pass or Call of Duty multiplayer on like that standard game, but you need Ultimate for that. So yeah, just to be clear, like they kind of one of the 2 tiers has half of it. The Ultimate, of course, has everything, and then Core doesn't have anything. So just
An
to-
Ultimate crosses over to PC as well, right? So it kind
Yes.
of connects the
Yeah,
dots
that's
there.
the 2-in-1 plus EA Play and all that stuff in there. So yeah, I for myself, Taylor, I skimmed the Call of Duty section. I picked out a couple interesting tidbits, but it's a bit too much Call of Duty for me. So I'm curious what you thought of this show breakdown here, and what's like kind of the most exciting things for you with this new game coming out this year.
At this point, like I have drifted away from the campaign. Like I'm seeing this reveal. You got like the president. You got this
You don't
want to
go work
thing
for
going on,
Bill
and-
Clinton and everything like that?
I do not want to work for Bill Clinton. I'll tell you that right now. Not to
Okay.
go too political,
You
but
don't want to take Saddam out? No.
I'm just seeing all this campaign stuff, and I fell off the campaign a long time ago in Call of Duty. So that is what it is. I play Call of Duty for the multiplayer aspect, and so getting to see a little bit more of just what's to come from the multiplayer and omnidirectional stuff, I'm not ready for that. Like
Is that the
Crikey.
sprinting in any direction?
that's
thing?
the sprinting and like you're dolphin diving straight, but you turn to the side and you're shooting. I'm like, man,
Okay.
my
Yeah.
brain.
Oh, no.
I'm going 30 this year,
It
man.
looked
I
really
fucking
weird.
can't keep up
Sprinting
with that.
backwards was like, what? I don't like this at all.
I'm not turning 30. I'm going 30.
I'm
Taylor
going
said.
30. I'm going 30. I'm like, I can't keep up with that shit, man. I see how people hold their controllers. Like, people are holding their controllers like this when they play. It's
Oh,
like
claw,
I can't.
yeah.
I fuck can't do it.
I'm a claw
Can't fuck-
user sometimes, I gotta say.
Oh.
But my hands are fucked now, so it's
So, that being said, though, yeah, I am excited for this. I'm excited because it's the first Call of Duty game I will not be buying day one, and I can't even remember because I have bought in every Call of Duty game since
A lot of money.
God, probably. I think Ghosts might have been the last one I didn't buy day one because I was moving and that game was shit. So I didn't buy it.
It was shit. That was the last Call
Yeah.
of Duty I ever bought, and that's why I can't buy another Call of Duty.
Same.
Absolutely atrocious. So I'm happy that I don't have to buy this because even then the Black Ops ones they've never been kind of at the forefront. They were great back in high school, but later editions were not really my favorites. I kind of was always more the Modern Warfare, Infinity Ward kind of Call of Duty games, not over the Treyarch. Well, the Treyarch definitely was fun. I'm excited because this has the zombie round-based stuff coming back. That being said,
Right.
I think round-based zombies, what they were doing in some of those later Black Ops iterations were interesting, but it got way too chaotic, way too insane. It wasn't for me. I went through those OG maps, I did the Easter eggs and got those achievements, and that stuff was some of the most peak zombies round based gameplay like stuff you'll ever hit, and I don't think they'll ever tap into that again. So I think the evolution to what we got in Modern Warfare 3, this open world zombies that they have, man, I got hooked to that. That was some of the greatest evolution gameplay like of zombies that they've done. I wish we all were able to play that together, because that squad shit in there is fucking fantastic. It is so
Whenever
damn
it goes
good.
on Game Pass, I'm there with you.
Yeah,
Sure.
let's
Yeah.
do it. But I am concerned though, and I'm hoping that they don't blow it too far to the water, because it can just get so overwhelming and not simplified the newer round-based zombie stuff. My hope is that, hey, let's sneak in a map pack here of just those OG4 maps. They've trickled them in, like remastered ones, into later other Black Ops Call of Duty games. So if we were to get those brought in here, and then it's Game Pass, and we can get all four of us thrown in there back on like Shinonuma, Naktar and Toten, like, oh man, that'd be so sick with like all the perks, newer guns too. I would be like,
Yeah, I won't be there. I'm sorry.
oh, you'll be there.
The only thing I have to add on this is, man, this is now not me being 30, not me having multiple children. I think Call of Duties make me feel old, because when they're starting to tackle 9/11 and Bill Clinton and George Bush Sr. and Saddam Hussein, I'm like, man, this is how it must have felt like when these games were coming out 15 years ago and they were tackling World War II and like the Vietnam War and all this stuff. Where just like, I'm like, you can't do a video game about this. And like, I'm sure people that generation thought the same thing. Like, you can't do like a game that's like has 9/11 plot points. I'm like, I guess you can. Like, I guess or like it like so. I just felt old when we had heard about the rumors and these trailers too, like showing events that we have lived through in a time where I feel like after 9/11 is when I got more politically like into things, because like that just happened in the world. So it's this just makes me feel super super old that now they're tackling stuff in our lifespan. So it's very odd to be in, but I'm happy for the Call of Duty people and whatever happens. Is that jumping shit going to be in Warzone too, or going to be people jumping on the side at me? Do I got to worry about that?
Eventually, maybe.
I think maybe if they drop Warzone 3.0, you might see it, but no. I think when you look at what they did with Call of Duty World War II, or sorry, Call of Duty Vanguard, and then one of the other Call of Duties as well, Cold War, those were released after Modern Warfare 1, and we had already Warzone 1. They had different movements, but those movements were not incorporated. It's just the guns and whatnot. So I don't think you have to worry about like dolphin dive side shooting, because that'd be a game changer. But you make a good point though, them incorporating different things that we've lived through, and like 9/11. I don't know. I'm curious to see in what way that. I don't want to say like, oh, I'm gonna play the campaign, because like, you know, I'm not saying that, but I'm curious, and it's a terrible thing, and it's very bold to throw that into a video.
But all the
game,
games
I
have
feel
tackled
like.
terrible things, right? Like none of the things they tackle are good things, right? Other than like the made-up wars, like they are all based off real-life events. They just get turned into a video game, but all those things are awful. So it's fair game
I mean,
to
they've
them, I
done
guess.
Advanced Warfare, so I
Yeah,
don't know. Now they're just going to the semi-recent present, which is interesting.
Yeah,
yeah, 10
Yeah.
years, yeah.
Yeah, Travis, your mic, you switched the wrong mic there. It sounds like.
he
Let
didn't
me
see
go
my
and fix that real
message.
quick. But yeah, I'm very excited for. Well, I shouldn't say very excited for this. I'm decently excited for this. What I'm excited for is that I can not have to buy this game and still check it out. I loved the campaigns back in the day, so I'm sure I would jump in and check it out. The story, not necessarily something I want to play, but I would just do it just because.
Dylan
Call of
wants to
Duty
work
is
for
just
Bill
the most
Clinton.
expensive, like highly produced game with like insanely good animations and production value. So it's like, you know, when I play Warzone and then I go play any other first-person shooter, I'm like, yeah, Call of Duty just has the best feel, because like there's thousands of people working on these games and they're just so iterative and stuff. So yeah, it's going to be a good time. The most exciting thing for me though is definitely zombies. For years and years and years I've wanted to get back into zombies. I love it so much, but it's like I'm not buying the full game just to access these things, and I've always wanted like the zombies game, which is just a combination of all of the maps, and I guess I can kind of in theory sort of get that now by at some point all these games should be on Game Pass, the older ones. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'll be there with you day one, Taylor, to jump into zombies, and I'll probably check out multiplayer
Nice.
to like join you on the review. But I don't in the way that Travis like doesn't want to put that time into Marvel Snap and get hooked and only do that. I don't want to go back into a period of my life where all I do is play Call of Duty, because I did that in high school and I'm good. I play Warzone with you guys, every few weeks here, and it's like that's the perfect amount of Call of Duty in my life. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm glad that I can kind of jump in without needing to spend all that money anymore. So that's cool for me. If the rumor is true that this is actually 300 gigabytes and you need all of that in order
That's
to
the
have this
word,
game
yeah.
installed, I probably won't play the game at all, because that's an insane thing to ask of anyone. That's absolutely fucking stupid. The Series S has like 500 gigabytes by default. Like, what the hell? You're asking for people to dedicate, 70% of their default hard drive to this freaking game? Like, if you're
Yeah.
going to do that, at least send me an external hard drive that I can stick into my console for free.
And
So,
you.
absolutely ridiculous. I hope that's not the case. That's just stupid. So, any other thoughts on this one, boys?
Like the showcase, of course, but in Call of Duty, no.
No, that's it. Okay. Well, see you guys for the Ubisoft Forward. Okay, let's jump to the next thing then, which is Doom Dark
Oh,
Ages. This is a
yeah.
prequel Doom game coming out 2025. And yeah, it's just a medieval setting. Doom, you have shields and medieval flails mixed with that regular, crazy first-person shooter gameplay that you're used to. I think this looks fucking unreal. I absolutely love this. Such a fun idea. It's like these are first-person shooter games, of course, but like Doom 2016 and Eternal, like the melee element of the game is so important because that's how you regenerate, and it is like this really great push and pull. And so I think having a game that is going to focus even more on the melee weapons through like medieval weaponry and crazy enemy types, but mixed with that regular gameplay that you're used to, I think it's such a cool thing to do, and I just love the setting. So I cannot wait for this. I still have not played Eternal, but I loved 2016, even though I played it many years. I think I played it in 2020. I played it way later down the road, but this is really, really cool, and I can't wait for this. I think it's going to be such a good time.
I'm the exact same boat for you. I think Eternal just came out a bad time because I played 2016. I maybe can contribute Doom to the resurgence of me becoming a first person player, like playing more of that genre. And I don't know why. I can't remember. It goes back to Briggs because Briggs was playing it and Briggs recommended it. And then from there, I don't know why. It was something about how Briggs was describing the game. Like, oh, I want to get in this. And I think it was just like it was like an either. I don't know if I had an Xbox at that point, so it was an easy download or it was like a $20 purchase. I think it was one of those things. I was like, okay, this is easy. Absolutely loved that game when I really didn't, and I wasn't like a big Doom fan growing up. So I know Eternal just came out at a different time, but this has motivated me to, okay, I'm gonna go do Eternal, and then I'm gonna be there day one for this because the aesthetic, everything about this is just awesome. That gun where you put skulls in and you shoot pieces of skull bones, people, like they're always so creative, but this looks like this is the most creative they've been yet. Even just the look with the helmet and you got like a feathered cape, like I'm there day one for this one, so I can't wait. And I'm excited to play Eternal because I didn't know. I guess it's more comedic, so people have been using. I've seen this done by a lot of people. They use the Doom Eternal chart and then the Evil Dead movies as the chart where it's like 1's the dark one, 2's the comedic one, and then 3 is like Army of Darkness where it goes back so
Okay, I like that a lot.
yeah,
That's cool.
so I did not know that Eternal was considered by many as like a more comedic one and more like slapsticky. So now I have that going in. But yeah, I will catch up because I want to. This is 2025, so I have time. I could even see this being fall next year, so I think I have lots of time. But this is like this is I think probably my game of the show, maybe barring one other one. But I absolutely love this. I love everything about it. Can't say enough good things about it.
And to come out with your first showcase of a new game and have a ton of gameplay in it, chef's
Yes.
kiss. It's perfect. Perfect way to show off this thing too. So, Taylor, I don't know. Have you played any of these newer Doom games, or are you interested in this at all?
I've never played Doom actually, but this
Is it
this caught me
prequel?
by
So it's the
surprise.
perfect time to jump
Games
in. Right?
Pass, day one.
Games Pass, yeah. This really caught me off guard because I always thought they were like the hell, everything like that. My Doom familiarity is the
They are
Dwayne
hell.
Johnson movie.
Oh, well, that's a bad. Yeah, don't.
So,
You got to rewrite that history right now.
so it's definitely a game that always just kind of terrified me. I remember seeing like Doom 3, I think it was, with the beast monster on the cover. I walk into EV Games back in the day for PC, like some very freaky. And this just seems wild. Yeah, this medieval take, and yeah, just the weaponry is cool and very different from the Blastum one from before. So like I'm totally down to try this. It just seems absolutely chaotic and gross, and I'm there. I mean, Games Pass. How can you say no at this point?
How can you say no? Well, you'd have to say no to Game Pass if you're playing this on PlayStation, but you can, in fact, play this game on your PS5. It appears to be day one along with this. So, yeah, that's the next like big first-party Xbox game that we're going to be seeing coming to PlayStation, which is a really interesting thing. Of course, they didn't show it in the showcase, but they talked about it afterwards. I don't even know the context of how it came up, but it did come up.
It was an IGN interview,
okay.
and then he's like, "Well, the creator of the game, I asked him." It's such a bullshit answer. He's like, "I asked him, like, how do you see Doom?" And the creator's like, the developer, or whatever, just like, "Well, I see this on all platforms." And he's like, "Well, then that's what we decided to do." It's like bullshit. Like, if you want this to be
We
just
love
Xbox,
our developers, and we love to put the power in their hands.
Yeah.
And
It's the
we
same
shut them
thing,
down
like-
for
Holding a
no
gun to his
reason.
head.
Yeah.
it was the same interview when they asked, like, "Oh, why haven't you spoke about the layoffs?" He's like, "Well, I just wanted to give. I didn't want to put the focus on me and let the developers and the focus be on the people and stuff." It's like, no, you should have been out there day one apologizing or like having some sort of statement. And the statement was BS. But that's why supposedly is that the creator wants it to be on all consoles still, and that's why.
Look at that, empowering your developers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this brings up an interesting conversation, which you were mentioning, Travis, of like how this feels more like a Summer Game Fest type showcase than it does an Xbox showcase for you. So, to my count, 18 of the 30 games shown in the
chart.
showcase here are games that are also available on PlayStation. Now, a couple of those,
It's
of course,
18.
that
Jeez
was my
Louise.
count. That was my
So
count.
that's majority. I thought it was lower than that. So majority of the games you could still, because I know what people say, and I've already seen the debates, and it's fine because people go, "Oh, well, why wouldn't you buy Game Pass?" Again, people don't understand. There are many people in the world that will just choose to have one console. So when people go, "Oh, well, why you're an idiot? You buy PlayStation," they might buy PlayStation because they want to play Spider-Man, God of War, and now it's good for them. I think bad as a competition to let PlayStation now. Like if you're a Doom fan, it would be like oh shit, I gotta get Xbox. Now it's like I have it. So again, I've rang this bell for years. Games Pass was a bad idea for a business. This is a bad idea for a business, but they just want to get as much money as possible. So whatever, they're doing their thing.
Yeah,
Good job,
I mean,
Phil.
I hope it works out for them because I don't want them to have to shut down more studios.
Yes,
and
of
because
course,
I
yeah.
am a huge fan of Game Pass and I take advantage of the service so much, playing like the majority of the games that come out on it new. So
It's fantastic.
yeah, I hope it succeeds for them, and I hope they don't have to lay off any more people. So yeah, but yeah, it is interesting. Like just and a lot of those things are like, okay, Elder Scrolls Online has been on PlayStation forever, and then they acquired the studio, and so obviously the game is still on PlayStation.
Yes,
So
yeah.
that number might seem a bit weird, but when you look at it like in terms of new games, it probably the number would be a bit lower. But even then, it's like like okay, if Sea of Thieves gets an update, and that's of course just got put over on PlayStation, this game as well. So that's a really interesting angle to it. And Taylor, I'm curious what your thoughts are on that side of things, just because we had that conversation a few weeks ago or a couple months ago now when those 4 games were first coming to PlayStation, but now we're getting Doom among probably many others, but that's at least the one, I believe the only like first party thing that was announced here that is confirmed coming to PlayStation. There's a lot of course speculation on other ones, but I think Doom is the only official one. But yeah, how are you feeling about that? I mean, you weren't a fan of it when we talked about it a few weeks ago, but how are you feeling on it now that it's been a thing for a few months?
It makes sense to do it, to be honest. Like it really does. It's kind of like this is gonna sound dark. You're a weapons manufacturer and you're selling weapons to both sides. And like if Xbox was just had their teams making games for them and just making games only for them to be selling these games and making money only for them, I mean, yeah, you're going to be making money, but you're not making nearly as much money if you own the developer and that developer is making games for all consoles and other companies too. Then that means, okay, you're tapping into the whole market here and you're going to be writing yourself a bigger paycheck at the end of the week. So I think it's the right thing to do. And ultimately with crossplay and all this kind of stuff, that's just, it feels like, well, yes, you have your go-to consoles, like you said, Travis. A lot of people have that one console. I just have my Xbox.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
it's nice that it's coming to a point where you can have your preference of console, your preference of controller, and your preference of subscriptions, but it's coming to a point where it's all intermingled, right?
I don't think it
So
is though.
I think it's getting
Not
there.
not all the way around. Where's Last of Us, God of War, Spider-Man on Xbox? Where's Mario Party, Mario Odyssey on Xbox? It's just Xbox because, like you said, their
This
consoles.
is very early, though. I mean, I'm not saying we're there. I mean, you can play, like, I think it's a big thing for Sony to put those titles like God of War, Last of Us, Death Stranding, all on PC. And now, again, it's not available on Xbox, but Xbox has branched into PC heavily with what they got going on there. So people that own a PC, you can tap into both those things now all of a sudden. So we're getting to that point soon where I think you'll see a lot of progression maybe eventually in the next, I'm not going to drop a date or anything like that, but in the next century you're going to see things.
I don't think soon. I really don't think Nintendo and PlayStation are going to go that route because they literally have a decade's worth of information to show. Look what happens when you do that, and then look what happens when you keep games
Does
to
the
yourself.
Lego Horizon
exclusive.
game not suggest that PlayStation's venturing into that market more?
Not on a massive level to me. No, that's just like a throwaway kids family game. If we get one of those big IPs on Xbox, then I will recount what I'm saying. But that is also launching too. To me, it's like it's not the same, and that's their bread and
What
butter.
about if
PlayStation.
they do more on Nintendo? Is that not the same?
Nintendo is tricky, but
Because is
it's a
that not kind of the same angle as like, okay, Xbox is going to PlayStation to
Mhm.
put their games out there because the install base, the people who have this console is like, what, like 3-1 at this point in terms of the ratio, if not
Yes.
higher? And that's like the same thing for at least PlayStation currently to Switch is like, what, a 2-1 ratio, a 3-1 ratio as well? So it's like very much the same thing. So I'm curious why you feel so differently about like PlayStation doing that. And yes, it's only been one game so far, but I think that's because the Switch can't run any other PlayStation like notable games yet in that.
Just
vein.
because I think Microsoft has more financial room to play, where I don't think Sony wants to cut their legs out of their console sales. Like Sony movie division is like fine, it does well, it has ups and flows and everything like that. It's not like Microsoft that can buy like things 10 times over if they want to, right? This almost trillion dollar corporation. So that's why I think for me, they don't want to cut that well of money off right now. And I think if they do start to do that, like Taylor says, then it's just, well, you just pick the console you like. You lose its supply and demand. You lose the need to have a PlayStation. That's why, other than Games Pass, that's why they're tied to Games Pass now. Second Games Pass goes away. If they were to go away, Xbox is done. The consoles, they're completely done because there's no reason to buy an Xbox anymore, in my opinion, because now all these games are going over. So PlayStation, they've not done a great job with their Plus or whatever the hell they keep calling. They keep renaming their things, and they don't put their big games on there. So to me, I don't think, I'll say at least the next 15 years, you're not going to get, specifically on Xbox. Nintendo, I need more time to think about that because you could argue there's still a bit of a different player base there with some more family-oriented people. I agree, like you said, Dylan. So many people have a Switch. It's such a wide Venn diagram. But to me, I think with Xbox, they're gonna lose that. And plus, if you look at all those court fines that came out, that was there's a reason PlayStation isn't putting stuff on Xbox because they had a really like heated back and forth with them during that whole Activision buying thing. You know, it was not a good go around when they did all those interviews and everything. So I think there's some salt there. Even today, Phil called them slimy. He called PlayStation slimy today in an interview. So that's where it's like, yeah, I just don't see that happening right now. Where Nintendo, they're smart enough not to do that publicly. They're not going to say anything about PlayStation being slimy. Because he said, oh yeah, I don't want to withhold.
What was the context of him calling them slime?
It was about why Doom or one other game coming to PlayStation. He's like, I don't want to do. Let me try and find the exact thing. I'll just put it in. Well, I was gonna say Phil and slimy, but it was saying that he doesn't want to hold games back because it's a slimy thing to do. Let's see, Phil and
insinuating
slimy.
that PlayStation not putting games on Xbox.
Here you go. PlayStation calls PlayStation, or hey, we're slimy. Phil Spencer calls PlayStation slimy for paying publishers for exclusive content. Oh, so it's about the Call of Duty stuff. I want to give you the choice of how you can play, where you can play, and who you play with, and not try and do slimy platform things to try and force you to do what you want and what you want to do. So it's like, and we know who they're talking about.
Close down.
They're not. He's not
It's the
talking about
same thing.
Nintendo.
It's a similar what I said. Yeah, when they brought those first 4 games over, And yeah, just the holier than thou mentality that they had of like, oh, we're just such a beacon of like, oh yeah, anyone should play anywhere they want. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, you've done like 4 games, now you're doing like 5 of these games, and the other ones you have, but because you like bought the studios that already release games on those platforms, like, yeah, their mentality there, they think they're just such like saints, is so
Yes.
silly to me.
And that's why I think he's trying to do the underdog thing. But the problem is you can't do the underdog thing when you just laid off 12,000 employees. That's the problem.
when your parent
So
company is has more money than
they
yeah,
turned a
everything
profit
else.
last year. There's no reason they had to do this. My point is, my end point is that I'm never going to say never, but what was soon, that's why I can't agree with Tia. I don't think it's soon for PlayStation, Xbox. Nintendo and PlayStation,
Century.
yeah, you did change the century, but I think that's so why, because who knows what happens? Recessions, other pandemics, like who knows, another consoles, maybe the PlayStation 6 comes out and it fucking bombs. And then it is like
Yeah.
a situation where, like, same thing. If you flip the corners, if Xbox was in the position PlayStation is, do you think they're doing this? I don't think so. I think PlayStation is spreading the love, where Xbox could be the bully in the room and say, no, like, all the games are over here. So it's just like, you never know what can happen, but I don't think soon, that's something like 15 years, I don't think you're gonna get those big games on PlayStation. They got to keep those bread and butter.
I haven't obviously read that full quote that you had there from Phil, but it's just once again, just such bullshit. Like the sliminess angle of like, fuck you. You just like weeks after laying off these studios when you have no reason to. And like, yeah, I will agree that I think PlayStation is slimy in some ways. Some other exclusivity stuff with like exclusive characters in games or like exclusive missions or just some of the ways they dealt with that Call of Duty thing was like, it seemed slimy to me. But like, PlayStation also laid off people earlier this year, including people at Naughty Dog. What the fuck?
Oh, yeah.
People at Naughty Dog. So both of them are as equally slimy. So Phil, fuck off with that stuff. Enough of him. He needs to shut up for a while. I guess people want to hear from him though, so it makes sense. But just a cheese ball. But what I was gonna say lastly, I think with Xbox, like another big thing that's been leaking, but hasn't been officially confirmed yet, is that they are potentially working on a handheld system. And from what we've heard, it would be different than what Sony obviously had the Vita and PSP back in the day, but they have that Portal nowadays, which is like connected via the internet, and you can play games that way. And so it's kind of like the Switch handheld version, but you have to be connected to the internet. It seems like Xbox's version is going to be not that. You can download games and play them on the go without an internet connection. And I think that could be a huge thing for them with a Game Pass angle of it, of like, here are 200 300 games that they have on their catalog, 300 probably when they get Activision Blizzard in there. Download whatever games you want, go on your trip, you have all these games at your disposal. I think that could be a huge thing for them, and that could be a potential big seller of wanting to bring people back to Xbox, because of just Game Pass with that handheld console could be insanely good. I mean, I know there's the Steam Deck and you can like download all sorts of random shit and get Game Pass on there, but I think for a lot of people, they don't want to mess around with that stuff. They just want it out of the box to be able to do that. So really curious to see what that is, because that could be a big deal for Xbox if that console is good. If that handheld console is a good, piece of hardware, I could see myself getting one of those. Whereas I don't see myself getting the next Xbox right now. I'm just gonna go for a PC next time around, and my Series X will last me for a few years at this point. And then at that point, whatever I'm really itching to play, Doom, I'll just get it on the next PlayStation whenever I pick that up.
Yeah, and it's he practically confirmed the handheld during that interview too.
They didn't want to say it, but like,
it's just not, and then I'm with you. That's the exciting thing, but also that's the thing too. If like, you never know, that could come out and blow up, that could come out and eat shit, and then it's like that puts your company in a whole different perspective, right? So it's they're making some moves.
Just with the Portal being out now, Steam Deck having a couple iterations, and the Switch being out for so long, hopefully there's like enough market research out there, and there's other companies who are making other handheld machines that are not proprietary to like a certain platform. And there's a lot of them out there. So hopefully they can get it right, because they can see what other companies are doing, get the right price point. They already have the catalog of games and the service to go along with it. So hopefully that works out for them. That was a nice little tangent conversation. But let's talk about the next game, which is State of Decay 3. I'll throw to Taylor first. You said you were excited for this. It finally is back after 3 years.
What's worrisome is no gameplay, though. That's my concern.
Is it worrisome though? Because I feel like it's just going to be more of the same, right? Like if you like State of Decay gameplay, it's going to be that with a few new bells and whistles, right?
sorry, I'm gonna cut in right here because to me this was like the other huge fumble of this showcase was 3 years since we've seen this game. That was the announced trailer
Yeah.
before. Come back after all this time for no gameplay, for no release
That's
window,
fair.
no anything. I don't see the point. There's been a lot of reports of this studio having a lot of issues with like turnover and toxicity, and like maybe the game's not doing so well, and so that's
Was it really revealed 3 years ago? This
The
game?
Yeah.
initial reveal was 3 years ago.
Okay,
yeah.
I did not know that
So,
fact, so I walk it back.
To
I walk
me,
my-
keep it in the tank. Don't spend the money to make
Yeah.
this random ass CGI trailer when you're ready to show it. When you think it's going to be, out in the next year.
yeah,
And maybe that is the case. Maybe they're going to have gameplay soon, and the game is actually coming out next year. That could be the case. But I feel like they should have had a more substantial showing here. I think this one should have stayed on the bench for now and let it cook some more. I was just kind of salty when it was all said and done. I'm like, hey, cool intro cinematic. Can't wait to see the gameplay here. And then we just got nothing. So I don't know. Like Taylor, is there a lot of driving in the first two games? Is that an element of those games?
Driving is an element. Yeah, limited gas.
That's
all that
that,
kind of
that
stuff.
seemed cool to me, but like it sounds like that's not even something new. So like I don't know what I'm supposed to latch on here as someone who doesn't know these games very well.
The everything that I saw in this cinematic was honestly, yeah, nothing new. What piqued my interest was that first cinematic 3 years ago when the person's hunting
Yes.
through the woods and there's a zombie deer. Zombie animals is an entirely new mechanic. It's also in the snow, like seasons. That's a whole new mechanic. That's
Yeah, that was a
really
great-
enticing.
I mean, it was a CG trailer, but it looked really good at the time.
Yeah.
So it's weird
Yeah.
to come out 3 years later and have less to show, and for it to be a lot less interesting.
Absolutely. So I'm curious to see what things they're going to be improving on in addition to what we already know that this game has. And I'll never forget like some of my favorite memories playing State of Decay 2 with my friends, where you basically you pick your map and your friends can come into your map and they can help build and gather resources with you. And basically their infestations appear up. You got to clear them. There's side missions you can do. You get your vehicle. You can upgrade your vehicle. Vehicles take damage and you can
Very cool.
recruit people in, and you can cycle between characters on your base, and each character has unique different attributes, different backstories and cosmetics you can give them, and you can give them different weapons and you can deck them out. It's a very, very fun, addicting game, and it can be amazingly overwhelming too when you get caught in situations where like your characters are fucked and you don't want to lose a character, but when you lose a character, they reanimate and they'll chase your friends because they turn into a zombie.
that's cool.
But it's one of those few zombie games that when you're out at nighttime, it's scary and you got to be extremely careful what you're getting up to because there's a lot of risk. So the fact that you can have animals incorporated in there would be wonderful. But yeah, this cinematic did not. It gave me hope that okay, this is the first time it's been mentioned in a long time. They're still working at it.
Still
but
on the board somewhere.
It's still on the board. I mean, this is Skate all over again. Really, I mean, except. Without
not
the
as
pre,
bad, I don't
without
think,
the
but-
pre-alpha gameplay, so it's actually behind Skate. So
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not even at a point where they can show pre-alpha footage, which
Yeah.
would
I
be
liked
kind of-
as like a short film. I liked the idea of this guy doing a little sacrifice, and they keep this little heirloom, and they reveal that there's just like this whole like setup for all these heirlooms to people dedicated to remember. So it's like I like that, and I'm not sure if it would be that like are they very story driven games, Taylor, or are they kind of minimal? It's more about the gameplay.
I mean, I don't remember there necessarily being a main story. There's
Yeah, so-
a general narrative going forward.
Yeah.
It's very basic, but for the most part, no. Your goal is to just build your base up, get fuel, get all these different things like food and stuff, and just start expanding.
And that's where, to me, unless there's a big change where it is a bit more story focused, because I did like that. I think that was like a fun, like a really kind of touching sentiment to have in a world where you're keeping all these sacrifices. If that's not a big addition, then I am with Dylan that, yeah, you should have just left this on the back burner for a little bit more and then come out a bit hotter. But at least, like you said, Taylor, it is good something where it is at least they're reminding you that it is out there and coming, where like we joke about Beyond Good and Evil, but like we haven't heard about that in like 7 years, you know? So it's like at least it is like their intentions are to make this, and who knows, some of that multiplayer stuff sounded intriguing. So now that I have Games Pass, maybe if it pops up, I'd be down to do some stuff with you guys. But I think it's still kind of a 2025 like Q4 the earliest, if I'm to be optimistic. But
Yeah. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back for more of the Xbox showcase. Okay, we are back. Dragon Age Veilguard was up next. This is coming out fall of this year. I a huge blind spot for me in gaming is BioWare. I've not played any of their games, not played Dragon Age, not
Wow.
played Mass Effect.
Oh,
This was a CG trailer. You know, it
Mhm.
showed some cool characters. I like fantasy stuff, so I could be convinced. This isn't a Game Pass one though, so it's not like a guaranteed pickup for me. I know people are hyped for this, especially in our chat. A couple
Yeah.
people were really hyped on it, but it's just not where my cone of knowledge is. So I don't think I have much to add on this. This do anything for you guys?
I'm a Mass Effect guy, so nope. That's not my realm of Bioware.
I got nothing.
You like Mass Effect and you like fantasy, so maybe this could be up your alley.
Yeah, maybe one day. I think it's just that there's been other fantasy games that have pulled me. I think at times Dragon Age maybe looked a bit on like the anime side, which like
Ooh, okay.
I'm more open to now. But
Gotta
I
steer
think,
clear of that anime stuff.
yeah, like, I think as young and Travis, like, not really for me. So maybe, but I think there's still other probably fancy. Like I'd still probably do Avowed over this. I'm not saying they're the same thing, but just like I think there's already other fantasy games that are coming soon or even talked about. Where I'm like, I maybe would rather go with something new than jumping
And they're
on.
not
But
a $90 buy risk
yes,
for you.
yeah, but I hear great things. So one day I'll like we talked about a couple weeks ago with Monster Hunter. One day I will scratch that itch, but today is not that day, and this year is not that year either. So
Okay, next up then is Starfield Shattered Space.
Yeah.
This is, of course, the announced expansion. So it's coming out this year, is what they said. I'm going to guess it's going to come out around that 1 year mark, which was it came out September 6th, I think a few days early with the early access. So I'm going to guess that's kind of roughly when it's going to be coming out, but we'll see. The big hook here for like what this DLC is about is very focused on Varun, which is kind of one of the factions in the game. And I think we probably even talked about this on our spoiler episode or something, Travis, talking about what Shattered Space could be, which is like Varun is a big faction in the game, but like their homeworld is inaccessible in the game. Like they are mysteriously hidden off the grid. So
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense that for the big DLC expansion, you'd go visit them, which is great because they're a big part of the world. And like Andreja, one of the main companions, that's like where her backstory is. So it makes a lot of sense. I'm excited that we're going there. I think it'd be cool. It's weird and culty and religious cult type thing. So I'm all into that. And then of course there's like other things come along with it, like new, I don't know, characters and weapons and
Creations
areas
is
and-
coming too. So now I can that mod's going around today where you can play as the Mandalorian or Boba Fett, and I will definitely be partaking in that when I go back.
Yeah, so there was two parts of this. There was the Shattered
Yeah.
Space stuff, which is coming out. That's
Okay.
the DLC coming out later this year. And then there was like an update that came out today, which
Yeah.
has Creation Club stuff where you can download mods for the game
Hell
console
yeah.
and PC.
finally
Some of
for
it's-
Travis.
Some stuff is a free add-on. So like this Trackers Alliance, they added this new faction quest. But here's where it gets a bit dicey from what I understand, and I haven't jumped back in yet, is that a couple quests for Trackers Alliance, cool, re-download your game or get your update going, go check it out. But then once you get past the first couple missions, and then you got to pay for the next
Oh, nice.
line in the mission chain,
Yeah.
And there's like some of the stuff they showed in here, you got to pay for. You want those plushies that you thought were cute? $3, $5, $7. You want this other gun? Maybe that's actually free. So it's a bit dicey what is paid for, what's free, and then when it comes to content and mods, like some of that stuff is free, some of
Yeah.
it's paid for. It's confusing. It's nebulous. I don't have first-hand experience with it yet because I haven't jumped in there yet. So
Okay.
I don't know. It seems a bit dicey, but I mean, Bethesda's been doing that for a long time. They are very nickel and dime when it comes to their DLC
Yeah.
stuff. And usually I do not nickel and dime for those things. I'll get the DLC packs, I'll get the big expansion, but I'm not interested in spending $3 on like a new rug to put in front of my house,
Yes, of course.
I'm not going down to that level. I mean, I think back in the day I bought horse armor for Oblivion, but I was I was like in middle
Wee
school. You
lad.
blame me for that? No way. So yeah, I for me, like, Starfield, all these updates. There's been other updates in the last few months that look great. I'm waiting for Shattered Space. That's when I'm going to jump back in. I kind of want it all in one package, so to speak. But I all this stuff really excites me. I have a bunch of new content. I already really enjoyed the game, obviously. So yeah, I'm very excited for Shattered Space, and I'll definitely be jumping in to check it out. But yeah, Travis, what did you think of this just wealth of things coming to the game?
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about that. I will do the same thing as you as wait because I've had it on the menu and I've been like right now because now I'm gonna try and play some Elden Ring before the DLC comes out. But
Yep.
before then, I was thinking about going back to Starfield and I've been like looking at it and itching to. So I think I will wait for that. But Yeah, everything here looked great. I think they delivered on some fun story stuff, and this looks like some good more lore to the world. So yeah, I'm like you. I had a positive experience with Starfield, and I would still even like to go back. There's just tons of stuff to do in that game that I don't have time for. But yeah, I think this was a good showing, and I'm excited to get back to that world later on this year. So
Yeah, and considering how many times like Starfield got delayed and pushed back, I think it's great for them that like within a year is like the release of the expansion. It's not like oh we
Yes.
got. I mean, it could it's never too late. They could kick it out to 2025, but it's hopefully they can keep the updates coming, and they have been coming pretty frequently since the game's release. Taylor, you of course jumped on to play a few hours to talk with me and Travis, but I don't think you ever went back to it. But does this DLC or any of these updates sell you on wanting to re-download the game and jump back in?
Oh, I still have it downloaded.
Oh, okay.
I had because like I played and fell off a little bit after the review.
fell off a little bit.
I fell off a little bit.
You fell off greatly, I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
plummeted would
Yeah.
be the word, I think.
I would
You're
like to get back into it, but it's just added to that list of other games that I need to complete, like Hogwarts
Cyberpunk?
Legacy, Cyberpunk, Red
If
Dead
you
2.
let's say you made a list of like, the 20 games that you want to play in order, where would Starfield be on that list? Like, is it top 10 even?
It'd
just
be top
honest
10
with
for
me.
sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. It would probably be top 5 because off the top of my head right
wow.
now, it would be, and this is not in ranked order, it would be like Cyberpunk, Red Dead 2.
Red Dead, Jesus.
Red
Have
Dead
you finished
2. I
Mirage
know.
yet?
Mirage? No, that's actually number 1 on my list.
Okay.
My goal is actually to
Sneaking.
complete that before Shadows. Sneaking.
Well, you got like 6 months.
Burger
to finish
King
the
game.
short game.
Yeah, I let you sneak King like months ago. You still don't have it. Did I remember Madison bought you Cyberpunk for your birthday? Do you have a physical copy of that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to snag that from you because you're not using it. So and I have one want to get back in there.
I'm
But,
gonna boot it up actually.
oh, you're not. You're gonna boot up to look at a character, and be like, oh, that's cool. But I've been wanting to. That's another game that doesn't drop that much. So I've been just because we're
Great.
playing.
God Loves Me 69 was asking for some potential coverage of Phantom Liberty in our Discord.
Yeah, well, I'm
so-
not gonna guarantee that. This is more just
Yeah.
like fuck replace this. Oh yeah, and I need something to scratch like the Blade Runner ish. So
Gotta scratch it.
yeah.
Cool. Okay, next up was Fallout 76. New update for that, Skyline Valley. They said
Still
this is
going,
the
eh?
first expansion to the map, which really confused me because I know they've had like Pittsburgh and other locations, but I'm guessing those are like, loading zones to separate areas. So maybe they mean this is the first time like taking that Appalachia map and making it bigger. So, that's cool. It's coming out June 12th. The most interesting thing to me here was not even something that's coming out in this first update, but they said later on they're adding the ability to play as a ghoul, which is
Yeah.
always something I've wanted. And for games that are such RPGs and let you have such control over who your character is and their backstory and their moveset and like radiation's a mechanic, I've always thought it's really crazy that you never actually have the chance to play as a ghoul. So hopefully it's more than just like a skin you can put on and it actually changes your mechanics in some way, and that would actually be something that's pretty cool. Especially 76 more than the other Fallout games is very much about like role playing who you want to play as, so I think that's really cool. The other stuff, honestly, like I want to jump it back to 76, but for me that's, if I were to make a list of my priority games, that's fairly low on mine, just because like I
Top
did
100?
play it, I gave it a few hours, but like I'd honestly rather go do a replay through of Fallout 4, even though there's all this crazy stuff. Like I want to go check out Pittsburgh. That sounds cool to me.
Yeah.
That update. I don't know if this one does, but maybe when the ghoul thing comes in, I'll jump back in and try being a ghoul for a bit.
You can thank the show for that one. That's all I'll say is that show has completely made it that the ghoul's been like everybody wanting and stuff. So it's
I'm sure that's a big part of it. Like maybe that's why that
and
update
smart.
is so far out, is they've
yes
didn't even
yeah.
have that in the pipeline until the show came out potentially.
Yeah, no, I think it's smart. I will probably never ever get into 76, and I'll just wait for a New Vegas or a Fallout 5, or I probably will. I want to go back. That's on my list as a New Vegas. Maybe we should do that in early like 2024 for a side quest where we have nothing. Just like
Early
us, like
2024.
25. Well, we're gonna travel back in time.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, we should all do like a top 2015 of our backlog list and a ranking of what the reasons why we're gonna do this and hold ourselves to a little bit, But
do a ranking of the backlog. Is what you're saying.
yeah, I'm saying like in a week where we have no news, nothing to talk about, like get us four
Yeah,
together
me
and like
Taylor and Kirkland did like a side quest episode where we did like a very loose discussion on our backlog.
Yeah.
We didn't make a list, so that could be fun. Yeah, all 4 of us get together, make our top 10.
Maybe we chime in, be like, no, Taylor, I actually think you should put this game above this for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Doom, it should be higher on your list. You would love Doom. You know, so
And I know Taylor, you just fucking hate Fallout, so it's not gonna be an update for you. You're an Elder Scrolls guy, so
Yeah.
okay. I'll let that
Are you baiting me?
Well, I assume you don't have. I'm assuming you're not going to play Fallout 76 here. But if you
No,
have
I
something to say,
am
surprise me,
not
but-
going to play it.
is it like a
but
free game now? Fallout 76.
It's on
Who
Games Pass,
knows?
right?
Is it okay? There you go.
I don't know. I mean, there's a subscription service for it separate from Game Pass.
Because you guys had to pay like $80 for it, right?
Oh, I paid $80 for it. Right? For like
Hey, we've all
5
been
hours
there.
gameplay.
You're getting this
Battleborn.
DLC because you paid that $80.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the only reason that the updates.
You got to go back.
The next up was I think this is a world premiere for this game. It's hard to keep track these days. For Claire Obscure Expedition 33, quite the mouthful of a title.
Terrible.
It's coming out 2025. I thought this had just a really, really stellar art style. Just visually speaking, it was very impressive in the scale of things, the character designs, but then even just down to the little things like the UI elements for the turn-based combat looked really cool with like how things are kind of integrated into the world, and I don't know, it feels like that UI is really integrated in a good way. So, yeah, I think this game looks really, really cool. This one was it was a Game Pass title as well, so I'll definitely be checking out.
Is
Jumping
it?
in there. It is, yeah.
So it's going to PlayStation, but it's on Games Pass.
You got it, yeah. PlayStation and
Okay.
Game Pass. So
There you go.
yeah, I'll 100% be jumping into this. I don't think this is necessarily my cup of tea, but I'll definitely give it a shot because of the Game Pass angle of it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I thought this is a really cool, nice surprise. Any thoughts from this one, you guys?
I think sorry, big bug came in my house. I think that it is. I'm in the same camp as you. That I like I can like turn based. It just has to be dependent on it. It looks like a beautiful game, but it also didn't look like a art style world that I was wanting to go into. Again, maybe it's almost that kind of anime-ish, very Final Fantasy type of, which Final Fantasy I used to play a lot of back in the day, but not so much the new era stuff. So if it's Game Pass, I could see myself giving it a try. I will mention that like in our Discord, and it just felt like my timeline overall, this was like, if not the game, the show, like in the top 3. I felt like this had a really good showing and people were really excited for this one. So that's really good momentum, because I feel like that can happen a lot where we see so many games world premiere and they're DOA, right? And it is first impression. So I think for the audience, they had a great impression, and I was more like, okay, this looks good. Maybe not for me, but I think it looks like a beautiful game, and yeah, we'll see. Very, very different type of style with some of these enemies, and I know turn-based is like it's in games, but I don't know if it's anything this big scale as of recently. So yeah, I think they had a good showing.
Taylor, any thoughts on that one? Okay. South of Midnight was next up, and I was surprised to see it here because I think I can't remember if it was Game Awards or if it was the Xbox Showcase last year, which was the reveal of this game. But I didn't expect to see it this soon, but we actually got like a big gameplay chunk here where it wasn't just like quick clips, but instead just showed like, here's what a 5-minute segment of the game is going to look like. It's coming out next year. The trailer last year had like a very interesting art style with the kind of intentionally lower frame rate of the movements and kind of cell shaded look, but it pops very well. And so to see that frame rate in action, I thought looked really, really cool. Like the characters' run animation, I was just mesmerized by it the entire time. I think it looks so interesting. The game seems like pretty linear, but it seems like there's exploration, combat, maybe some puzzle solving, some parkour, a little bit of everything in that sort of sense. I like the music that was in here. It's kind of something different. I like the setting and everything. The creatures that you're riding on. Like this was like a home run for me. I think this game looks so interesting and so unique. And yeah, another Game Pass one. So I'll definitely be jumping into this. And yeah, I think it's pretty high on my anticipated list. I just think it looks so cool and different.
Taylor, you going to the south?
No.
No. I'm with Dylan where this was I don't know where it would be on the backlog in most places. I don't think I'm not as anticipated as Dylan was, but I am definitely going to be trying this game out and playing it. I really like. I don't remember it from last year because obviously there's always a lot of these
Yeah, there's no
showcases.
gameplay. It was just
Okay.
CG cutscene, but
But no, I really liked everything I was seeing here. I really liked the vibe. I liked that art style. I don't think it's going to reinvent the wheel, but I think it's going to be a really cool game that, because that art style will stand out, and some fun enemy types. I like some of the southern type of vibes going on. Obviously, Self Midnight, but yeah, this was when it started. I was like, okay, because it almost has like a similar art style to like one of those Life is Strange games. So I'm like, okay, it's probably one of these things, but it transitions. And no, I will definitely check this out. Maybe as more time goes on, it will climb up there. So I don't even know if it's in like I'll say it's like maybe in a top 20, but like
okay.
yeah. So but because there's a lot of games like Kotar that are probably never happening, so I've just removed them out of the top 20. So yeah, I thought it was a really good showing, and I will be downloading this whenever it drops because I think this was just data for next year, so no official date. But yeah, great showing. I liked it.
Yeah, there were a few updates for things. World of Warcraft has a new thing update coming out. Sea of Thieves, of course. Elder
Season
Scrolls
13 for that. That's crazy to me when they said that. It's
mhm.
like, man, I feel old again.
Online. I cannot describe how angry I was to see a Pat Benatar song played alongside Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh yeah, that
I
was
just the
upsetting.
tone, the mix of tones.
Yeah.
I just I don't even need to get into it, but it bothered me greatly. Next up, MGS3 Snake Eater.
Yes.
So showing off the kind of remake here. Of course, this is not an Xbox exclusive, and it's not even on Game Pass.
Half the internet
all.
thinks it is. That's that. I saw it so many, and like the Xbox is winning this, and it was like all these Xbox games, Metal Gear. It's like, no, this is not. Like you said, it's not even Games Pass. You know.
Yeah, it's not. But I think it's cool that it was shown here.
Yes.
From Xbox's perspective, I think it's a good thing. Even just like, I've always assumed those games are like, PlayStation exclusives. But then I think we were talking recently and like, oh yeah, MGS5 is like on Xbox and everything.
Yeah.
Like, what? I didn't even realize that kind of thing. So I think this is like important for them to do, and it's a cool showing. And it was like a really great trailer. And I even was watching like a trailer or like some gameplay footage of the original game and like seeing certain shots that are 1-to-1 remakes with him pulling out the knife was really cool. So I got the Volume 1 collection for MGS, and I've been talking about that on SideQuest. And so next up for me is Snake Eater. And now I'm wondering, like, ooh, maybe I should wait for the remake, or maybe I will play that and then play the remake and kind of compare and contrast. They seem pretty close. But I'm very excited to jump into that because, MGS2 didn't really do it for me, but this seems like more of a traditional third-person game, whereas MGS2 still has the fixed camera, which I just hate fixed camera in games. Like, when I've been going back to old Resident Evils or, playing MGS 1 and 2, like, I really hate that kind of camera perspective.
Yeah.
So this one being, full third person is really exciting for me. So obviously this is like a 20-year-old game, but I think this remake looks very solid. It's not like Resident Evil remake in terms of visual quality, but I still think it looks really solid. So I don't know if I think I'm gonna play that Volume 1, like the OG version that I have there before I check this out. But this is cool, great showing. It was fun to see it here. It was a surprise. I thought anywhere it was gonna be at Summer Game Fest or at the State of Play or something. So it was cool to see.
Yeah, it was great to see. I'm obviously a big fan of Metal Gear. I'm not like a diehard in the sense that when I played those games, I've not replayed them. I played them when I was youngin'. I'm not the diehard that is comparing the trailer to the original game and being like, "This is awful. Look at the lighting and the coloring." It's not, which I get it. I get it because it is that idea of like the fidelity is really high, but some people are mad that it's not capturing the same type of tone and feel as that original game, which I get. But I guess just because I'm so young, it doesn't have that impact on me. This one. And same thing with the date even. There's like GameSpot today post 17th. That's up in there. We don't know. There was not even a year for this. So this legitimately depends on, because if it's a great game, I'm there as a day one, a Metal Gear guy. So that's happening. It depends on the reviews though for me, because it's without Kojima, and the last game that they did, Metal Gear, it was a very different type of game, but it was still very poor, that multiplayer, whatever one they did. So I need to wait and see, but I love that it is. I think this is the right move to go back to the strip down, because Metal Gear 5, it gets so big and so crazy, and even the things you have to do in the game, not just the combat, but just building little armies and kidnapping people, and you have your little bases, and you're trying to upgrade their level grade and everything. I think it's great to have this back to kind of almost bare bones of its, Naked Snake on a mission, espionage. So in theory, this should be great, and this is easily like a top 20 game for me. But this is definitely I need to wait because I could see a lot of 6 to 7s out of 10, and I think I will buy this game at some point. But if it's on the lower scale as far as reviews, I will wait on that. But if it's a hey, they really hit a home run on this, this is a day one Travis game.
I've already seen the volume 1 collection go like really deep sales.
Oh yeah,
So I think that you're pretty safe that that'll same thing will happen here. It seems like a
yeah.
Konami thing to do there. So
Yeah.
Taylor, any thoughts on that one? Or?
This is another one that I share and appreciate Ruben's love and support for. I remember going over to his place and he was just pumping out Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain, showing that off, and
Phantom Pain,
I support him.
yeah. But you could support yourself. You could be. I feel like this is. There's some Taylor. I don't know. It's a little slow, so maybe not. But I feel like you'd like the stories and stuff. You know.
I have the physical cart for the Volume 1 collection, so if you want to check out those old games, I can lend that to you. If you...
You got to give
I
me
gotta get
Cyberpunk first, though.
I gotta get through Cyberpunk, get through Starfield.
No, you're not gonna get through Cyberpunk. Like, did Madison ever play those Mario games? I borrowed the Mario trilogy. Did she? I'm gonna ask her when you're not around. Tim made this big
All-Stars?
deal. Like, yeah, no,
3D
the
All-Stars?
yeah. You gotta get back. Madison wants to play. Madison wants to play. I still need it back one day to play it, but I think he's
You can
lying
definitely
to me.
borrow it again, but you never even did you play it even? I don't think you ever played them.
I wanted to, but you put me on such a time constraint.
You
Like,
had
I
it
don't
for
think
a
I can get
year.
it done. I don't have it for a year. That's the biggest
You had it for a
baloney.
year.
I
Oh,
don't have
yeah.
it for a year. No. Let's move on. Continue.
Next up, there's 2 games: Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn, which we've seen a few times. Just kind of a reminder about that one. It's another Game Pass title. Looks cool. Age of Mythology Retold. This is a new announcement. I can't tell if this is a remake or if it is a kind of just like a new version of whatever is going on here. I'm not knowledgeable on Age of Empires and Age of Mythology, but
Yeah.
Taylor, you gonna be playing this one?
I used to play Age of Mythology, the original, back in the day. I remember in elementary school getting into the computer lab and playing those games online, or not online, but playing them on the computer. They were peak back then, those strategy games, and I haven't played one since, but this is kind of enticing, and I'd be kind of scratch that itch a little bit, a little nostalgia.
Yeah.
So
It looks really fun. I might download it on my computer and check it out. Next up was Perfect Dark, which I was kind of surprised to see. There's been a lot of
Well,
behind the
scuttlebutt.
scenes chatter on this one of, oh, it's in development hell, it's not going well, they need support studios, and then other people disproving that and saying, oh no, it's actually doing pretty well. And so I didn't really expect to see it here. I thought another year rotation, maybe then it'll be time. So I was surprised to see it. It didn't have a date with it, so who knows how far along it is. But there was gameplay in here. Of course,
Yeah.
it's doctored gameplay. It's maybe not like 1-to-1 ratio, but I think it at least shows you what it's going to be like. Perfect Dark is one that I've played a couple of these games back in the day, but it's like I only ever played the multiplayer and just screwed around in some arena type combat from what I remember. So I don't really know much about the story or the characters here. But I thought this looked amazing visually. I really like the density of the city that you're going around. And at first, it was giving me like Dune vibes, so I'm like totally into that. And then the parkour looked fun. I think the combat looked okay, so, but I like the tech angle of it. So I don't know. I guess I didn't really know what to expect coming into this. But I was pretty impressed. I think this looks pretty cool, and it probably is still a couple of years away, so I'm not getting my hopes up necessarily yet. But cool, nice job to come out of here. I think to this point we've only got like the title drop for it. I don't think we've ever seen anything for it, so I think they did a good job of putting the best foot forward on showing this one off.
I was the same boat as you. I've never played Perfect Dark. I really had zero interest when they announced it a couple years ago. Like, cool. It just felt like Xbox didn't have IP, so it's like, oh, we got this. Like, take a look at this, and we've heard all those reports. And I don't think it was a gameplay where it's like, man, this looks like this big game year, but way better than I was expecting. Even just the story beats, just the vibe of the game. I just love, I don't know what she is, some assassin, but just felt like a very space cop type of way. It kind of, again, talking about Blade Runner, it felt like if you were a replicant, you were Blade Runner trying to get a replicant, like you said, some of the gameplay looked all right, but it was like a slice, so we'll see. But no, this is one that now it's on the radar, not on the top 20, of course, and same thing. If it was not on Games Pass, I would not have it on the radar, but because it will be, I'm assuming, on Games Pass.
It will be. Yeah.
Yeah, it left a good impression on me. So now I'll have to wait and see the follow-ups and see if it can keep that momentum. But I was liking the vibe, the gameplay I did see, even though it wasn't like revolutionary, but I liked the vibe of the story and the kind of the motives that's going on. So yeah, I just this one took me by surprise because I thought the whole way through I wasn't going to give a shit about Perfect Dark, and I do now. So
Taylor, do you give a shit about Perfect Dark?
I give a little shit. I mean, I've never played them
one?
before, but this was definitely interesting. I liked what I was seeing, and I'm curious to kind of, again, it's on Games Pass. It's like Dune, so it's added to the list.
Sounds good. DLC for Diablo 4 is coming out later this year. From what I could tell, the Diablo 4, of course, is on Game Pass, but I don't think the DLC is going to be included with that service. You have to pay extra for that, from what I can tell. So just an FYI on that. After that was Fable is coming out next year, apparently, which another thing that surprised me because Fable is another one that we've heard maybe mixed rumblings of how it's doing behind the scenes.
yeah,
But I was finally glad to see some more here in terms of actually seeing some gameplay once again. It looked like very doctored gameplay, hard to tell what's going on here. But I don't know. I'm a little mixed on it. I feel like that original Fable, like I've played a little bit of 2 and 3, but it's like I'm nostalgic for that first game, and I love it. It's one of my favorite games of all time. But it's like I never even finished the game. It's like it very much exists in like this very narrow pocket of time for me, and I do want to do a retro of it before this new one comes out. Just the first game, not going through the whole series again. But it's weird. Like this has a very different tone and vibe to me. Like it is jokey. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but there's still a distinctly different tone of what we saw here from what I expect. And even like that very first showing we got of Fable with the tease of like the frog eating the fairy, like that to me felt very fitting. But something about the tone, the characters, the way they're talking here, it's like it's different than the Fable that I'm used to. And also like the art style. The original game is like it's very like boxy and clunky, and like armor is really big, and like buildings are very exaggerated. It's very cartoony. And I think the games, like as Fable progressed, it kind of got away from that. And so this also has that kind of vibe to it where it doesn't really feel like that original game that I, know and love so much and nostalgic for. So I guess I'm a little on the fence. Don't get me wrong. I'm still going to play the hell out of this game.
Yeah.
And I love fantasy and I love the idea of it. And I like the look of the town that we're seeing here. But yeah, I guess I would be surprised if this was as special to me as that original game is. But that's just dealing with 20 years of nostalgia. So it's hard to beat that, right?
Could this be its like 2018 God of War moment though? Where it is evolving and it has enough of the oldest there, but it's like you feel that okay, it's not that old game, original game I played, but it's evolved to something a bit more, not grown up per se, but just that comparison of just taking some stuff that you love, but then also recoding it to, okay, here's a new generation of Fable. Because you also got to get people like myself, never touched a Fable game in my life. It's a blind spot for me. So, and I feel like that was like with God of War, a lot of people like hadn't played some of those and jumped on that. So maybe it could be that,
Yeah, I think there's definitely an opportunity for that. I mean, one unknown variable here is that it's Playground Games making this. People have made Forza for 100 years. So it's like, I don't know. This is definitely out of their wheelhouse. It's been done before, so I'm open.
Could this be their Horizon? Made those Killzone games, and then they
comparison that comes up for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think the reboot angle of it does make a lot of sense because that's probably what I need from the series. Because I'm just not as intrigued by what they did with the sequel games, and so I think it's probably good to do kind of a soft reboot, whatever you want to call this here. I'm super receptive to this. I'm going to be checking it out day one. I'm excited for it. I don't know what I needed to see, but I guess there's still a lot of opportunity for me to get like blown away with some other I guarantee that next January for the developer direct, Fable's probably going to be one of those games. So to get like a 15 to 20 minute deep dive on it, see gameplay, see what the RPG elements are looking like, see more of the combat. Like I think that will be really the selling point for me of like, okay, where is this on like that tier 1 hype level, or is it just like it's Game Pass, so I'll check it out as I do with like a lot of these other games. But really really excited to see more of it when we do get more.
Could this be their sneaking? No, I'm joking. So with this one I just need to see more. The Games Pass is always, because I'll scratch the itch. Never played a Fable. I've always heard the legend of it, but I've never played it. So Games Pass, easy. I can download, play it for 5 hours, but okay, this isn't for me. But for me, I think there was a lot of nostalgia goggles on with this one because I heard, oh, great showing for Fable, yet da da da, and I just feel like you, like, to me, the Perfect Dark showed way more gameplay as far as like a vibe of what this is. This was just a lot of a character holding a sword and walking up to things, and maybe one slash and there's one jump. To me, it's just like this is nowhere near enough for me to think this is looking great and should be excited for, with, like you said, a different company. Fucking thumbs up for doing this type of game. So it's like I need to see, like you said, a January 1, 25, 30 minutes of something, a real showcase on this. So I liked the cinematic, and I liked actually it felt like, like a not as comedic Shrek at times, like, which is a weird thing to say, but I do like Shrek.
This felt less fairy tale than the last two showings, which, the first one
Yeah.
was like, or the second one was a very Jack and the Beanstalk type aesthetic, and the first one more of a teaser, but that frog scene, right?
So I'm intrigued, but I think lots of people got that. Maybe it's just that he talked up for me. So when I finally saw it, because I didn't get to watch the live, I'm like, this is it for it. It's still, to me, a big question mark, this game. So I'm gonna wait and see on this one.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Taylor?
I mean, my experience would be just Fable 2. That's the only one that I've played, and even then, I didn't play a lot of it. So I don't have a huge nostalgic connection to this franchise, but it's on Games Pass, and I am curious because I like the humor. I like what I've seen just with so far. It's funny. I remember all the hype with Fable 3 at the time, but I'm not rushing day one to play this. Is what I'm saying, but I'm interested to try it out.
Okay, gotcha. Next up was Fragpunk. This is coming 2025. This is a free-to-play 5v5 hero shooter type game, with the gimmick being that you have these cards and you crush these cards in your hand, and that changes the stats of the map or the characters. Like, one of them is you could turn the opponents into having big head modes, so you can get easier headshots.
Nice.
Or you can, like, get the growth going on, so like all this plant life grows to the map and adds new places you can hide, or you can flip the gravity up on its head, like that scene from Inception. So I love the concept. I think it seems really fun and cool. It's free to play, so I'll jump in there and check it out. Will I stick with it? Probably not. It seems kind of gimmicky, but hopefully I have a great weekend, jumping into this thing, or maybe even a few weeks. Who knows? I doubt either of you guys are gonna be checking this one out, so
I won't be there on that
Too
weekend.
stressful. I gotta worry about omnidirection. It's changing the dynamics of this.
You gotta
seems
learn
way
how to
too
sprint
much.
backwards. You don't have time to mess with
Flip
gravity
upside
here.
down, big heads. Oh my god.
Next up is a game called Winter Burrow, which is interesting because I feel like, for a few years there, maybe a 2 or 3 year stretch, Xbox was like really leaning into showing off a lot of like indie games at their conferences, and nowadays they just gobbled up so much AAA studios and stuff that, like, it seems like they're like too big for that kind of thing. They're not showing that sort of stuff anymore. And this was like the one very indie looking thing that they had here, where it's like a cute, but like maybe sort of darker game where you're playing as this little mouse in like this cold winter environment. You're going back to your little like family home, trying to find your aunt, trying to rebuild this world. It looks cute and wholesome, but also potentially a little dark. I'm into this. I'm gonna be playing this with Muds. I think this is a cool, interesting game. I like the art style, I like what they have going on here. So I'll be checking that one out. That one's coming out next year. Another Game Pass title. After that was Mixtape, which has a very Life is Strange esque feel to it, which is a very much a coming of age story, which is not a common genre in video games, but even like this trailer had a very movie like announcer to it, talking about like this summer play this coming of age tale about finding your way. Like that it had that vibe to it. I really like the art style. It has a very similar like kind of frame rate thing that South of Midnight has, which is interesting. It's all about the soundtrack too, and just like, I don't know, a very kind of trippy game of flying in cars or just like floating through the air with your friends. I think it looks really cool, unique, something different. I'll definitely be jumping into this one as well. I think it looks really interesting.
Yeah, I like, for some reason, that and Life is Strange back to back. It was like good showings for me. So I was like, oh, maybe I need to.
Yeah, normally I don't care much for Life is Strange. It doesn't do it for me. But yeah, double exposure, the new one here, I thought it looked cool too. Actually.
It did, yeah. So I was like, do I need to now put that on like a backlog list? So we'll see. But even Mixtape, I was really digging the trailer. So they're a wait and see. I think those
Game Pass, so you can at least jump.
Yeah, so I might take a gander on those, because those aren't probably long games either. So I liked everything about that vibe and the way of music connecting you and through time. And yeah, digging what I usually just kind of pass over in the conferences. So
Yeah. Flight Simulator 2024 is coming out. There you go. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle still coming out this year. but still
no thoughts
date.
from Taylor on Flight Simulator? Dylan, you don't want no
I'm
Flight
eager to
Simulator?
actually try it. I love seeing the
Fe-
different.
Taylor, cut me off if I'm not throwing to you. It's just
Taylor's
because
gonna
I
like, man, this
fall
guy
asleep.
I don't
hates
think
Flight
you
Simulator.
care. So feel
Taylor's
free
gonna
to
fall
jump in
asleep
and
again.
cut me off if you
I get
passionate about
I
this.
get that stress because like if I'm flying these big passenger planes and I pass out, like that's not going to be good for anybody. But I think it looks cool the things that they got in here because you're doing like agricultural work, you're
Save
doing
people.
you're saving
Life
people.
support. Yeah.
There's lots of cool different things in here that I'm eager to try out. I just when I played the last one I played, it just gets so overwhelming because you go into that cockpit. It's like I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. I'm flipping the switches, and all of a sudden I'm flipped over in the fucking runway. But I want to learn, and they've done some cool things. They did a Dune DLC where you fly. What's the name of the ship?
What if a
that they
Paul
fly
Atreides was
around on a
on
Oh, the
Arcturus?
orthocopters or something like that.
Yeah, they did that, which is pretty cool. And then of course, they did the one of the Halo ships too. I think it was the Pelican. So they've done some cool crossovers, but I'm excited to try this. I think there's some cool things in there, and I'm excited to see if this is like the actual like our Google Maps that you can connect with, or if it's more of like their own world that they've built. Because the last one with Google Maps,
I think it's Google
It's-
Mapsy.
I think it
Google
is.
Maps, yeah.
Because people were memeing on it. They're like, this game has the whole fucking world and it's 100 gigabytes. Well, Call of Duty is going to be 300 gigabytes. So
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Indiana Jones: The Great Circle. As I was saying, it's still coming out this year apparently, but we don't have a date on it. This showing of it did have some more like sizzle reel type stuff, but it was more about showing kind of one extended scene in the Himalayas. Taylor, what did you think of the Great Circle here?
I liked it, and I thought being in the snow environment too and all that was really cool. I don't think we've been in the snow in the movies, have we? It's just been
No.
like desert and
Harrison
Well,
Ford
we've been,
wouldn't
to,
agree
we've
to
been to
that.
Nepal, the Himalayas.
I guess so. It wasn't necessarily. It was more or less in the bar, right? We didn't really get a lot of
Well,
snow.
yeah.
But you're totally right though. There was Nepal. If we're going to the Himalayas, man, just sneak a Yeti in there. I mean, this is Indiana Jones. Why not? Let's make it happen. After everything else that we've seen, but no, it got me pumped. It got me excited, and
Nice.
I'm still on the apprehensive fence about the being in first person. I feel like I've subscribed to the third person concept. It would have been better, but I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna hold my breath. It's Indiana Jones, so I'm excited to get in there and experience what they've got.
Yeah, I was pretty unimpressed with what they showed here. I thought the Himalaya scene, the humor, the character stuff wasn't really working for me. I didn't hate it, but I think ultimately like a bit apathetic towards the whole thing. I just didn't feel much, which I don't think is what they wanted me to be feeling here. I guess I'm curious like what a longer chunk of gameplay is going to look like in this. So to have like what is essentially a extended cutscene with like very minimal gameplay elements, it just makes me worried for like how gameplay-y is this game going to be, or is it going to be more story focused with a lot of cutscenes for like what could be like a fun moment to play through. So we'll see what's going on there. I also just think like visually, I don't know, it's not looking as great as I want it to. Perhaps I think maybe the saving grace for me here is I talked with Kirkland recently on SideQuest that I went and played through one of the Wolfenstein games. So I got a little bit machine games knowledge in my background here, and I really had a great time with that in terms of the gameplay, first-person shooter mechanics. I thought it was fun. When I come to this, though, I see, like, man, every encounter looks like it's like a one-enemy thing. Like, you're not doing these big shootouts, which, that's Wolfenstein. I'm not saying that's what Indiana Jones should be necessarily, but I guess I'm just getting potentially a bit concerned that the gameplay is not going to be fun in this game, and I don't know if the story is going to be good enough to make up for the fact that the gameplay is not good. So that's kind of where my worries are at. So yeah, I guess I'm a little under the weather on it, you could say. So Travis, where are you lying on this one?
No, I like the vibe. I think there's a couple comedic moments that didn't work for me, like the guy with the cartoon bit and everything. But I think for the most part, it's still feeling like indie. I think the gameplay, I was surprisingly, as I said when we got the reveal, I wasn't opposed to the first person, but I also said that it could be a mistake by the time we get there, and I think it's genuinely going to be a wait and see sort of thing. I'll definitely be there. I think there's tons of fun things they could do with Indiana Jones, and I think as of right now, there's still the scene for the most part had like the spirit of Indiana Jones, so at least they're nailing to me that part of some of the type of isms that they do. So yeah, I'm still excited for the game and hoping to get a date soon, but I'm not excited to the point where I'm like, oh, I can't, like, I'm jonesing to play this game. I think I'm gonna have really fun, but it just looks like, oh, I'm going to have hopefully a good time with a game that has an Indiana Jones skin on it, and I can scratch an itch of that we haven't had like a big AAA Indiana Jones game. I think, but at the same time, I think it could be a game that maybe like over delivers because I'm just gonna have it at like a very not low bar, but just like the bar. My expectations are in line. So, but yeah, so far still liking it.
Yeah, we'll talk about release date in a second for that. I want to loop back on that one. Next up was Mecha Break. It's coming 2025. After that was a game called Wuchang Fallen Feathers, which is like a Souls-like thing that's coming to Game Pass 2025 as well. Moving along, Avowed was up next, where we got to see a little bit more here, but then they did like a deep dive or like another half an hour of the main developer there talking through the things, showing off some more extended gameplay sequences of it. And so I think from the initial, like the trailer they showed here, I wasn't like super impressed, but that deep dive did some good stuff where they finally showed off a lot more of the like skill tree and the RPG side of things, and I'm into it. I like what they showed there. I think the magic just looks super fun in this game. Like at one point in the trailer, the character has like this purple magic book, and they slam it shut, and it does like this big like AoE around them. It looks cool. The ice we've seen before looks cool. The fire looks really good. So I think the magic part of it is what's looking really nice. And the one thing that I found really interesting in the deep dive was they were talking about how like the character had like a sword, and like they were swinging at this enemy, and like the animation looked really bad. I was like, oh, this is worrying. The character's like smacking. They look like they're hitting him with like the hilt of their sword. And I'm like, what's going on? Like this is. I'm slightly concerned for the melee combat here. But then they go and upgrade their skills and their sword or whatever, and then they go fight, and that same sword, their animations are like popping off, looking really good. And then they were talking about that in the deep dive that like upgrading your character means your character's like more proficient with their weapon, and you'll get better animations with like the sound effects will be better and more juicy. And it's like that is a really interesting idea, and it makes me wonder like how much of the kind of mid or bad looking gameplay that we've seen in some of the trailers is that kind of thing where we're seeing like a lower level character who hasn't leveled up yet and isn't like expert at their stuff yet. So I'm really curious about that, and it kind of gives me a glimmer of hope. I have pretty low expectations for this game just because it started out as like, okay, Obsidian, they made Fallout New Vegas, and this is finally them doing their take on Skyrim. But then like over the time, they've been like, you know what? The scale, it's not there. It's a smaller scale game. It's like Outer Worlds or around that kind of size. And so I think because of that, my expectations are just in check. They're lower. But there was some stuff here that I thought looked really nice. Looked pretty interesting. They talked about how there's third person in this game. You can do third person or first person. They didn't show much of it, so I'm curious how the combat will feel for that. But that's a nice option, which of course was a thing in New Vegas and any Bethesda game, right? So I'm very excited for this game. Once again, no release date on it, but they're still saying this year. So we'll talk about that in a second because once again, I want to do that release date stuff at the end. But I'd say this increased my hype level for Avowed. But once again, I'm still trying to keep it in check there. But any thoughts from you guys on this one?
I'm looking forward to it. I think some of those things you highlighted is it's exciting, and it's cool that they have the team working on those little quality of life kind of improvements, I guess you could say. And yeah, I mean it's definitely something that I look forward to.
Mr. Muted Travis Snell over here, and
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, for some reason my fucking Mac is just beeping every once in a while, so I'm not sure if you hear that. So I'm not sure if it's like overheated. So great times. This game that I've been constantly and continually on the fence about. I'll kind of wait until I think will be a game that I don't think I'll play day one unless I hear very great things. But the third person does help because I just have this thing where I don't like magic games that are first person. I don't like casting spells. I don't like doing that. Even swords to a degree. Whenever I see that, that's not a Travis venture. I can do that for guns and other things, but with Magic, it's not my realms. The second and that's what I love, because I've always loved that with the Bethesda games. I love the option for both, because sometimes there are some situations that are much better in first person, and there's some that I would much prefer in third person, whether it be story or just the setting and the environment. So that did get me more on board, and that made me it kind of go a bit more in the positive direction. So I'm still kind of waiting till closer to, but I've always been back and forth with, I see things I like about the game and I see things that I go, not really for me. But so it's still a wait and see on Avowed.
Next up, Atom Falls is coming out 2025. This is from Rebellion, who are the developers of Sniper Elite, who I kind of slept on for many years, but when I played Sniper Elite 5 when that was in Game Pass, I absolutely loved that game. And so because of that, I'm like really excited for this. I think this looks really cool. That's them going to a first person from the third person perspective. This is like historical, but it's like an alternate reality. So there's like mechs going on. They've called this more of a survival action than like a stealth action game, which is what Sniper Elite is. So I think this is like a cool pivot for them, something kind of different, but it's still like noticeably within that same DNA of the stuff they're really good at. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for this. This is a cool announcement for me. One of my favorite things here in the showcase. Even if it just looked like somewhat of a run of the mill shooter, I just like have a lot of faith in this studio, and like their level design is so good. Like visual, I think it looks really great. So yeah, looking forward to this one.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Moving along, Assassin's Creed Shadows was shown here. Once again, we're gonna kick that to Ubisoft Forward. We'll talk about that more in the next cast. Stalker 2 got another trailer here, so it's coming out September 5th. I thought this was a really great showing for it. Another great trailer. It looks very gritty and cinematic. The combat looks fun. Visuals look really great. I didn't play Stalker 1, but I'm very much looking forward to this. Going to be picking this up day one. How about you guys? Game Pass picking it up? Yes, no?
No, not done anything for me. So I recommend go watch the documentary about the first movie and how people got it really sick filming it. But yeah, there's this. Every time I've seen this from the beginning when they've showed this to now, just hasn't scratched an itch or hasn't been like, oh, that there anything interesting there. So yeah, no, nothing for me on this one.
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay, next up was the revealing of some new consoles. We got a digital-only Series X, along with some additional storage options. So a Series S with 1 terabyte and a Series X with 2 terabytes, which you're going to need if you're going to be playing Call of Duty on your Xbox console. Some new colors, like the Series X it has a white version now. The black one has like this kind of speckled star thing to it that looked pretty cool.
Galaxy, yeah.
They said it's coming out this holiday, I believe, right? But they didn't actually put a date on it. I don't know. What are the chances you guys are buying this? I feel like there's no way you'd need to upgrade to one of these
don't
from
need
your
it.
Series X, right?
Unless one breaks. That's that same thing with PlayStation. If there is a Pro, the only reason I'll buy upgrades for current consoles I have is if something breaks and I need a new one. So, yep, that's it.
Taylor, any chance you'd pick?
I'm
any
happy.
of
I
them?
got my Series X. The only thing I need is more storage. So
Yeah, it's the storage angle is a big part of it for sure, and I'd like more storage. I'm not going to upgrade a console for it. Hey, new options for players who don't yet have an Xbox. But maybe wait and see what the handheld thing is before you bite down on one of these. So I wanted to ask like this got to come out in what, November, October? Do they do it like with Call of Duty? Is that the play with the new Call of Duty? They do like a bundle or something.
With it being on Games Pass, it makes me like less inclined to say yes. So
Right.
I'll just say November. I guess have it out for Call of Duty because Call of Duty's out October.
Late October, yeah.
Yeah, I'll say it's around the mid-October, and not even necessarily bundled with Call of Duty, just like before it.
this is interesting because I was just kind of curious on the history. So I remember like June it's obviously way too soon, but the Xbox 360 Slim came out end of June, and then the Xbox One S, and that's one that I actually upgraded my Xbox One to the One S. That came out in August. So it seems like these revised like not next gen, but upgraded consoles of that same generation, and maybe like a late summer, midsummer kind of thing, possibly. I could see this maybe like a
Oh, really? Okay.
maybe I don't know. it would make sense to go with the
I
fall
feel like if it's coming
November
in the
route.
summer, wouldn't they have like that release date ready to go if they're doing
Yeah.
it here in June?
They should, and that's why I think I'd prescribe to the idea maybe it would be a fall.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
And then lastly here was lastly was Call of Duty. We already talked about that. Gears of War E-Day. This is a cinematic for a new Gears game. I don't know much about this series. So Taylor, why is this interesting, or why do you find this interesting? Assuming you do.
For me, I think E-Day is just one of those things that's talked about. There's books based on that, on the
What
event.
is E-Day for the
Emergence Day. It's when the locust hordes basically rose to the surface, attacked the humans
Okay.
on Sarah. For me, I think that this is great. I grew up with Gears 1 to 3, so I'll never forget skipping school with my friends, my squad. We went to Best Buy together, and we picked up Gears 3. We're in line. We got our shirts, pre-order shirts, got our toques, everything like that. the guy in front of us who was first in line, he went in and he asked the guy, the clerk, like, so you guys got the shirts and the toques, right? Because he really wanted them. And like, sorry, we don't have them. And so he ended up leaving. And then right after he left, the guy's like, oh, I found the shirts. And he gave us the shirts because we were second. It was amazing.
I hope he's watching right now. Like, you son of a bitch.
But yeah, those characters that you get introduced to in Gears 1 and you go through this journey with, like Dom and Marcus, just incredible. So incredible. Holy shit. And just to see those two back in this prequel game is just fantastic. And I think for me personally, I was looking at this and thinking, man, this is the equivalent of putting out like a Halo Reach, like Bungie putting that game out. I think you're going to get a lot of people just diving into this. You're gonna get the like new fans that have jumped in, maybe at Gears 4, maybe at Gears 5. They're like, oh, this is cool, like I'll go in, I'll play this is great. And then you're gonna get those OG fans that were playing that Gears 3, that were right there to the end with Dom and Marcus, and just are gonna be thriving, and like, hey, they're gonna call up their buddies like, hey, we can go back in and we can play this new game with those characters, like let's do it, let's hop into it. So I think that this is great. This is super exciting. I'm there for this day one. The moment I saw this, the trailer as well was fantastic, with Mad World kicking in there briefly with those characters. And I was downloading on Spotify Gears of War playlist, and just I was getting hyped. I was thinking, man, I got to get back in this world. I'm not gonna verse Briggs because Briggs will just kick my ass, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back in for the story for sure.
Nice. I've never been a Gears guy, so I mean, it's Game Pass, so I might jump in and join you for the review there, Taylor. I mean, I'm not going to commit to playing through the whole campaign or anything, but I'll throw a few hours into it. But not necessarily my cup of tea, and I don't think this trailer. It's a cool concept, I guess. Actually, I do like what you described there.
It's like the new Quiet Place movie coming out. That's pretty much this game, is showing how everything went down and stuff. So
Yeah.
I will be there with you, Taylor, because I think your pitch is correct in the sense of I think we'll bring a lot of people back. I've only talked about it a few times, but I was a big Gears 1 to 3 fan. I even bought Judgment Day, played a little bit. I was like, I'm done with this. Yeah. So I've not played 4 and 5. And I do feel sorry for the people that really want 6 as, like, I guess the conclusion of the new trilogy. So I feel bad for you guys because I don't think it's like a situation where, oh, you're getting E-Day next year and then the year after you're getting 6. Like, I think you're waiting a bit. But it's probably smart to go this route because I'm somebody that I gave up after 3, and then it's like, maybe I could go play 4 and 5, but I just haven't feel that pull. But there is a pull to kind of, if you can capture a similar tone aesthetic to that very first Gears of War, that does help. So no, I think I loved Gears and I was happy to retire it, but I think I'm happy to pull that jersey down from the rafter and get back into that world, because that was a middle school friends game. That was a go to a sleepover and we play through the entire Gears campaign in a night all together. Like, it was a touchstone of my youth. So I will be there for E-Day. So
Very nice. Okay, so I wanted to just quickly kind of recap these release dates here to talk about indie a little bit. So yeah, June, the Starfield update, like the first part already came out. Fallout 76 coming out the 12th, and then Elder Scrolls Online on the 18th. July is that Flintlock game on the 18th, and then 25th is Sea of Thieves. In August, you have the WoW update that's coming out on the 26th. In September, you have on the 4th Age of Mythology, on the 5th Stalker 2. October, we got the Diablo DLC, and then Life is Strange, and then Call of Duty. I'm not saying the dates anymore, but you get the picture here. And then
Yeah.
November is Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm not just saying exclusive games. I'm just the things that were in this showcase. And then Flight Simulator. And then here's the... So Avowed and MGS didn't have release dates, but both of them kind of got leaked / like rumored today that Avowed is looking to come out November 12th.
Okay.
And MGS is coming out the 19th, I believe, of November.
Yeah, 19th or 17th. I thought I saw 17th.
Yeah, probably whatever the
but
Thursday, I guess
Yeah.
Friday is.
I
of
missed
that
the
week.
Avowed ones. Okay, the 12th there. Okay.
Yeah, so it seemed, and that would, I think, fit. I think that would be, I mean, not that Xbox has any control over when Metal Gear is coming out, but I think for Avowed that makes sense. They don't have any other, I guess they have Flight Simulator, but I think that's separate enough. So that makes sense. So I guess, yeah, the question to you guys is like, where does indie fit into that? Because I feel like August makes the most sense, but like, if
That's
it was
what you
that
and Taylor were
soon-
saying last time. You guys were saying August, and I'm sticking with my guns. I'm still saying December.
you
That's
think
what
they're
I'm
gonna go
saying.
for the holiday
Especially they
situation?
showed off that Christmas level, some snow going on. There'd be some more
Okay.
marketing. I disagree with the extent of if it was August, now would have been the time for a date. Now would be
No, that's where I'm at. Is like if it was August, there's no way they wouldn't have had that date ready to go. So it
Yeah.
has to be later. But then yeah, like I don't really know where the other good pocket is for it. So I think yeah, December does make sense. That or like I guess there's a pretty big gap between like Stalker 2 into Call of Duty if you're looking at the big exclusives. That's like pretty much a month and a half. So
Yeah.
maybe like the end of September, early October could be another good pocket for it.
I hope it's there because I don't want that game coming out during holiday season. There's other stuff going on, but just even in general, that'll be tough for me. So
Yeah.
it's just like like that's always a risk of release those games Christmas time. Again, we don't actually know how long it's going to be, but yeah, I think maybe I don't really know how Indie's gonna do. That's always a tough thing, right? With it being Games Pass, and they'll say it's a success, but then they'll we don't know that, but. Yeah, I just feel like you're right. Maybe there's a little bit of time till that end of September, October block. So maybe, but they gotta get on that now with that date. And I just feel like they even would have slapped that one on there. So that's what I'm going December and then watch till
Yeah, I
still
think
delay.
Xbox, like especially Redfall, Starfield lately, they're just so scared of having a release date and having to delay things. I don't think they want
Yeah.
to delay things ever again, so they're just gonna wait very late into the cycle to put the release date on things, which I think is risky to some extent. I think
You
it's
miss
good
out
to
some
just have the
marketing.
information out there than it is for people to not know about a game's release. Which, who knows? Maybe that happened with Hellblade because they waited so long and then just kind of like
Yeah.
randomly put that date out there. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes for them. Taylor, what do you think? Indy, what's your prediction there?
Sorry, Madison was saying goodnight.
How dare she say goodnight?
I know. I feel like at this point and entering into the summer months, I feel like if it was August, we would have got that release date dropped by now. So it is kind of worrisome, and I feel like maybe my prediction is incorrect, and maybe Travis has some steam going for him with his late December Q4 pick there.
Right on.
Bold, but maybe it could be.
Fortune favors the bold.
It's true. I think that's it. Any other thoughts on the Xbox showcase here, my friends?
No, I think
I
we've,
don't think
we've
so.
said it all.
Did it. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll see you for the Ubisoft Forward coverage, and then, boom, we've done it. Well, there's like a million other showcases that happen, but those are the big ones, so to speak. So we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.